Alright, Karina baby, for July the 8th, we have whales. Look at that image of that whale. Whales. Whales have tails and as big as sails, and little eyes that blink, and holes that blow the water out, otherwise they'd sink. That's all about whales. Let's see what our next story is. We just did Cinderella. Oh, the next one is The Farmer and His Wife. Oh, no, The Fisherman. I'm thinking farmer because I'm on the farm. Alright, The Fisherman and His Wife. Actually, I love this story. This is one of my favorite stories. I used to read it to you all the time. We had this one as well. The Fisherman and His Wife. There was once a fisherman and his wife who lived together in a vinegar jug close by the sea. And the fisherman went there every day and he fished. And he fished and he fished. So he sat there all day at his fishing and also looked into the clear water as he sat and he sat. Then down went his hook, deep, deep down, and when he pulled it out, there he had a big golden fish. And the fish said to him, "Listen, fisher, I beg you, let me live. I am not a real fish, I am an enchanted prince. How would it help you if you killed me? It wouldn't taste good to you anyway. Put me back into the water and let me swim." "No," said the man. "You needn't make so many words about it. A fish that can talk, I would certainly have let him swim away." With that he put him back into the clear water, and the fish went down and left a long streak of blood after him. And the fisher got up and went home to his wife in the vinegar jug. "Husband," said the wife, "haven't you caught anything today?" "Nay," said the man, "I caught a golden fish who said that he was an enchanted prince, so I let him swim again." "But didn't you wish yourself something?" asked the wife. "Nay," said the man. "What could I have wished for?" "Eck," said the wife, "here we live in a vinegar jug that smells of sour, and is so dark you could have wished for a little hut. Go there now and tell him we want a little hut. He will do that surely." "Ach," said the man, why should I go there?" Said the wife, "after all you caught him and let him swim again, didn't you? He will do that surely. Go right there." The man still didn't want to go, but he did not want to go against his wife's wishes either, and so he went off to the sea, and he came there. The sea was all green and yellow, and not at all so clear anymore. So he went and stood and said, many ye, triple E-T, fishy, fishy in the sea. Isabel, my wife, my wishful wife, does not want my way of life." Now the fish came swimming along and said, "No, what does she, why, nah, why, what does she want then?" "Ach," said the man, "after all, I caught you and let you go. Now my wife says I should really have wished myself something. She doesn't want to live in the vinegar jug anymore. She would dearly like to have a hut." "Go there," said the fish. "She has that now." And so the man went home to his wife, who wasn't standing in the vinegar jug anymore, but there she stood in a little hut, and she was sitting in front on the porch on a bench. She took his hand and said to him, "Just come in. See now, isn't that much better?" So they went in, and in the hut, the little hall and a parlor, also a sleeping room in which stood their bed, and a kitchen and dining room, and the best of utensils laid out in the nicest way, potter and brassware and all that belonged there. In back of the hut was a little yard with chickens and ducks, and a garden with vegetables and fruit. "See," said the wife, isn't that neat?" "Yes," said the man. So let it be. Now we will live right contentedly. "Nah, well, think about that," said the wife. What that they with that they ate something and went to bed. So that went on for about 8 to 14 days, when the wife said, "Listen, man, the hut is much too small, and the yard and garden are so tiny. The fish might really have gotten us a bigger house. I want to live in a stone mason. Go to the fish. He must give us a mason." "Ach, wife," said the man, "the hut is big enough. Why should we want to live in a mason?" "Go there," said the wife. "The fish can easily do that much." "Nah, wife," said the man. "The fish has already given us a hut. I don't want to go there again. It might displease the fish." "Go," said the wife. "He can do that right well, and will do it gladly. You just go there." The man's heart became heavy, and he didn't want to go. He said to himself that it is not right, and he went there anyway. When he came to the sea, the water was all purple and gray and thick, and not green and yellow any more, but it was still quiet. So he went and stood and said, "Many ye, tippity-tee, fishy, fishy in the sea, Isabel, my wifey wife, my wishful wife, does not want my way of life." "Now, what does she want, then?" asked the fish. "Ach," said the man, "she wants to live in a stone mason." "Go there, then," said Fish. "She is standing in front of the door." So the man left, and thought he would go home. But when he reached it, there was a big stone mason, and his wife was standing at the step, just ready to go in. She took him by the hand and said, "Just come inside." That he did, and in the mason was a big hall. I think it's supposed to be mansion. I don't think it's spelled right. And it was a big hall and marble floors, and there were so many servants that they tore open the big doors. The walls were all bright and colored with fine tapestries, and the rooms were filled with golden chairs and tables. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceilings, and all the parlors and chambers were covered with carpets, and food of the very best and wine stood on the table, and they were as if they were ready to break. In back of the mansion was a big courtyard with horses and cow stables and carriages in the very best, as there was a marvelous big garden and most beautiful flowers and the fine fruit trees, and a park at least a half a mile long. In it were stags and deers and rabbits, and all that one could ever wish for oneself. "See," said the wife, "isn't this beautiful?" "Oh, yes," said the man, "and so let it be. Now what will we live in a most beautiful mansion, and be well satisfied." "Nah, well, think that over and sleep on it," said the wife. The wife still isn't satisfied. She has a huge mansion, a bunch of servants, all the food she could ever wish for. She has wine. She has every possible thing. She has a mansion. And with that, they went to bed. The next morning, the wife woke up first. It was just daybreak, and she saw from her bed a wonderful land laying before her. The man was still sleeping, so she nudged him in the side with her elbow and said, "Man, get up and just look out at this out of this window. See? Couldn't one become king over the land? Go to the fish. We want to be king." "Ack," said the wife. "Ack, wife," said the man. "Why should we want to be king? I don't want to be king." "Nah," said the wife. "If you don't want to be king, I want to be king. Go to the fish and tell him I want to be king." "Ack, wife," said the man. "That I don't want to tell the fish." "Why not?" said the wife. "Go right straight there. I must be king." So the man went there and was right dismayed. "This is not right. It's not right," he thought. He did not want to go, but he went anyway. And he came to the shore. There it was all blackish gray, and the water foamed up at the bottom, and it smelled all rotten. So he went and stood and said, "Manny, manny, tippity tee, fishy, fishy in the sea, Isabel, my wife, does not want my way of life." "No? What does she want then?" asked the fish. "Ach," said the man, "she wants to be king." "Go there then. She is that." "She is all that," said the fish. So the man went, and when he came to the mansion, it had become a big castle. It had a high tower with wonderful trimmings on it, and a santee stood before the door, and there were so many Maine soldiers with drums and trumpets. And as he came into the castle, he found that everything was made of marble and gold, with velvet covers and big golden tassels. Then the door of the hall opened. There was all the court, and his wife sat on the high throne of gold and diamonds. He had a crown of pure gold on his. She had a crown of pure gold on her head, and in splendor of gold and jewels in her hand, and in a scepter of gold and jewels in her hand. On both sides she stood 6 maidens in a row, each always one hand smaller than the other. In a row, each one head smaller than the other. So he went and stood there and said, "O wife, you are now king." "Yes," said the wife, "now I am king." So he stood and looked at her, and when he had looked at her like that for a while, he said, "Ach, wife, how nice it is that you are king. Now you have nothing more to wish for." "Nah, man," said the wife, and looked all restless. There isn't enough to do. To me the time seems so long I can't stand that any more. Go there to the fish, king. I am now must also become emperor." "Ach, wife," said the man, "why should you want to be an emperor?" "Man," she said, "go to the fish. I want to be emperor." "Ach, wife," said the man, I don't want to tell the fish that. I don't want to tell the fish that. He can't make an emperor. That he cannot and cannot do." "What?" said the wife. "I am king and you are my man. Will you go there right away? If he can make a king, he can make an emperor. I want to be emperor. Go there right now." So he had to go, but he became all scared. And as he went along like that, he thought to himself, "That doesn't go right. Emperor is too much to ask for. The fish will get tired in the end." With that he came to the sea. It was all black and thick and began to ferment, so that it made bubbles. And such a wild wind blew over it that the man was horrified. So he went and stood and said, Many-ee, many-ee, tippity-tee, fishy, fishy in the sea, Isabel, my wishful wife, does not want my way of life. No? What does she want then? Asked the fish. Ugh, fish, said the man, she wants to be emperor. Go there then, said the fish, she is all that. So the man went, and when he came there, the whole castle was made of polished marble with alabaster statues and golden decorations. In front of the door, soldiers were marching, and they blew their trumpets and beat their drums and kettle drums. And the castle, Barnos and earls and dukes were walking around as servants. They opened the door for him, which were made of pure gold, and when he came inside, there sat his wife on the throne, which was all made of one piece of gold, and was about 2 miles high. She wore a big golden crown with 3 ells high, which sat with brilliants and carbuncles. In one hand she had the scepter, in the other hand she had the imperial globe. On both sides of her throne stood a gentleman at arms, in 2 rows, one always smaller than the next. From the biggest giant was 2 miles high to the smallest dwarf, who was only as big as my little finger. And in front of her stood as many princes and kings. So the men went and stood and said, Wife, you are now emperor. Yes, said the wife, I am emperor. So he stood there and looked at her right well, and after he had looked at her like that for a while, he said, Ugh, wife, how nice it is now that you are emperor. Man, she said, why are you standing there like that? I am emperor, but now I want to become pope. Go to the fish. Ach, wife, said the man, what do you ask of me? You can't become pope. There is only one pope in Christendom. Surely the fish can't make that. Man, she said, I want to be pope. Go right now. Even today, I must become pope. Nah, wife, said the man, that I don't want to tell him. That won't go right. That is too much. The fish can't make you a pope. Man, what chatter, said the wife. If he can make an emperor, he can make a pope as well. Go along. I am emperor and you are my man. Will you go there now? At that he was frightened and went there, but he felt all faint and shook and quaked, and his knees and calves became flabby, and now such a big white wind blew over the land, and the clouds flew so thick it grew as dark as though it were evening. The leaves blew from the trees, the water splashed against the shore, and worked all churned as though it were boiling. And far away he saw the ships. They were in trouble, and tossed and leaped on the billows. The sky was still a little blue in the middle, but at all sides it was coming up bright as red, as heavy as a storm. So he went there in despair and stood in terror and said, Many-ee, tippity-tee, fishy, fishy in the sea, Isabel, my wishful wife, does not want my way of life. Now, what does she want then? Asked the fish. Ach, said the man, she wants to be pope. Go there then, said the fish. She is that now. So he went, and when he came home, it was like a big church with palaces all around it. There he pushed his way through the crowd. Inside, everything was lit up with thousands and thousands of candles. His wife was dressed in pure gold, and she sat on an even higher throne than before, and now she wore 3 big golden crowns, and all around her there was so much pomp and grandeur. On both sides of her there stood 2 rows of candles, from the tallest and thickest as the tower down to the smallest kitchen candle. And all the emperor's kings were down before her on their knees. "Wife," said the man, and looked at her right well. "Are you now Pope?" "Yes," she said, "I am Pope." So he went and stood and looked at her. And it was just as though he looked at the sun. After he had looked at her for a while, he said, "Ah, wife, how nice it is now that you are Pope." But she sat there stiff as a tree and did not stir or move herself. Then he said, "Well, wife, now that you are Pope, you will have to be satisfied. You can't become anything more." "That I will think over," said the wife. With that they went to bed, but the wife was not satisfied, and her greediness did not let her sleep. She was always wondering what else she could become. The man slept right well and soundly. He had done much running that day, but the wife could not sleep and tossed herself from one side to the other all through the night, and wondering what else she could become, but couldn't think of nothing higher. With that the sun began to rise, and as she saw the rosy dawn, she leaned over on one end of the bed and looked out the window. And when she saw the sun coming up, "Ha," she thought, "couldn't I, too, make the sun and the moon go up?" "Man," she said, and poked him in the ribs with her elbow, "wake up and go there to the fish. I want to be like God." The man was still half asleep, but he was so alarmed by this that he fell out of his bed. He thought he had not heard aright, and rubbed his eyes and said, "Eh, wife, what are you saying?" "Man," she said, "if I can't make the sun and moon rise and have to sit here to see that the sun and moon are going up, I can't stand that, and I won't have a peaceful moment until I can make them go up myself." Then she looked at him in such a horrible way that a shudder ran over him. "Go right there," she said. "I want to be like God." "Ach, wife," said the man, and fell before her on his knees. "That the fish can't do. Emperor and Pope he can make. I beg you, be satisfied and stay Pope." At that she became furious, and her hair flew wildly about her head. She lifted up her tunic and gave him a kick with her foot and screamed, "I can't stand it, that I can't stand it any longer. Will you go?" So he pulled on his trousers and ran away, and thought as though he were mad. But outside there was a storm, and it raged so that he could hardly stand on his feet. The houses and the trees blew over, the mountains quaked, the big rocks broke off and rolled into the sea, and the skies were pitch black, and it thundered and lightning. And the sea went up into the big black waves as high as the church towers and mountains, and they all had a white crown of foam on their tips. So he screamed out and called hard, and he could hardly hear his own voice. "Manny-ee, manatee, tippity-tee, fishy, fishy, in the sea. Isabel, my wishful wife, does not want my way of life." "Nah? What does she want, then?" asked the fish. "Ach," said the man, "she wants to make the sun and moon rise. She wants to be like God." "Go home, then," said the fish. "She's back in her vinegar jug again." And there they are both sitting to this day. The wife wanted and wanted and wanted and wanted. She was never satisfied with what she had. And sometimes in life, you have to be content and you have to be grateful. Right now, Mama wants you, and I do have separation anxiety from being away from you, and I'm incredibly sad for being away from you, but I can't have you right this moment. So that means that I have to be content with where I'm at in this moment in time. Life changes fast, time goes, and it goes like that. You only have 15 hours to one day, and you have to choose what you want to do in that one day to make your time last wisely, right? And sometimes you just have to wait, and you have to be patient when you're waiting. That's the secret of life. You're always waiting for something. You want something, you want to do something, you want to go somewhere, you want to get something done. You have to figure out what you can get done in a day. You have to figure out what you can get done in a year. You have to figure out where you are and where you want to be, right? Mama wants to be with you, so Mama's going to a conference on Monday where hopefully I get to be with you. Alright, baby. Mama loves you. I love you. How about let's do Swing Low, Sweet Chariot? Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Well, I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming forth to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. Well, sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down, coming forth to carry me home. But still I feel my soul is heavenly bound, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Now if you get there before I do, coming forth to carry me home. Tell all my friends I'll be coming there too, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. I'll be coming home, coming home, coming home to you, coming forth to carry me home. You know my word is good, you know my word is true, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. I love you, baby. I'll be right back.